Does the world seem a little topsy-turvy? Do you feel like there are decisions that you have to make without actually knowing what those choices are? Is there responsibility that you're feeling that you want to take, as well as differences in your life that you want to create? Well, if this is you, then you are probably in the second stage of your awakening called the reckoning. Want to learn more about it? Let's get to it. Grand Rising and Great Tidings, Adepts and Initiates, welcome back. If you haven't yet, go ahead and click on the subscribe button so you can stay in constant contact and communication with all the content coming out on this channel. All right, the awakening. We are going into that, talked a lot about that in terms of the scale of going from ego and into essence. And what we're going into this time around is going from stage 1, which is our initiation, into stage 2. Now, stage 2 is our reckoning. Now, the reckoning is a stage, I'm going to go ahead and hyphen that, of our awakening, where now we're getting into realizing that the choices we've made, right, the patterns of our past that are making themselves known in our present, no longer works. Now, when we're aware of this, that's terrific. That's the first part of our awakening, just that observation, to witness, to become aware of it. Now, what that allows us to do in that initiation phase, where things go again in sort of like clusters of you-know-whats, drops into our reckoning, where the world seems kind of uncertain because we are now acknowledging the fact that the patterns of the past have not worked and that we want more in our lives. Now, when we want more in our lives, that means a few things. Decisions to make, responsibilities to take. As I mentioned in the opening video, I talked a lot about my own awakening process back in the early 2000s. My uncle passed away. He was a very important figure and person to me, and it was incredibly difficult. Dropped me into my own dark night of the soul. And in doing so, though, allowed me to also acknowledge that the eating and the drinking and the coping mechanisms that I had created in regards to my own level of stress really was not working. And so what this was an invitation to go into this area to acknowledge, but then also to make decisions about it. If this no longer works for me, then what are the decisions that I want to make, moving from that place of ego and into essence? Though I didn't see it like that, it was more so what's not healthy, which is the drinking and the eating, and what is healthful for me. Now, in doing this then, the reckoning is often an experience where we feel just uncertain. We feel like this underlying energy, and we can feel it because we feel uplifted and we feel depleted by some of the choices that we're making. And in this, that's where we really are able to identify what no longer works. Because usually what happens, going back a step in the initiation, is that we decide that we want more. And that more, whatever that is for you, ideal relationship, wonderful career, being heard and seen, being accepted, whatever that is for you, there's something between those patterns of your past and where you are in your present that obviously is not working. Otherwise, you would have that. Now, with our reckoning, though, it's a little bit different because we've already acknowledged that, we've observed it, and now we've got to make decisions. For me, it was a matter of quitting drinking all the time, for a matter of food and having more nourishing nutrients within my body and within my diet, to be more active in my life, to exercise, to be okay with not hanging out with my friends at the time, drinking all the time, and be able to actually connect with my community. And there was a difference in all of that. So our reckoning brings that awareness to us, though, because now as we acknowledge that, we can make these choices. And at the same time, the choices that we make also requires us responsibility to take. I was responsible in the initiation period and prior to for the choices to drink and to get drunk. I was responsible for taking the easy way out to get fast food, to eat French fries and burgers and things of that nature. I was responsible for not dealing with the underlying stress, the mourning, the grief, the loss that I was feeling within my emotional body and within myself, which also means, and this is where the power and profundity of the reckoning comes into play, that I am also responsible for being able to move forward. I am capable of being held accountable from here on out for making new and renewing choices. And in doing so, the choices that I make that allow me to move into the next stage are those that really uplift me rather than deplete me, are those that are renewing rather than exhausting. Because what can happen within these first two stages is that because we're living largely in that place of ego, again, nothing wrong with it inherently, it is the identity we've created to engage the outer world that comes from a place of survival, which means a lot of the time we can give our power away. We choose to be someone who pleases others. We choose to be someone who looks at the betterment of someone else rather than ourselves. The reckoning is our process for being able to reclaim that and is able to allow us to then choose into a different way of life, a different person, and a different way of being. Now, more on this as we go into stage 3 in a bit.